I moved into Evergreen Oaks thinking I'd finally found peace. Quiet streets lined with identical two-story homes. Lawns so perfectly manicured they looked fake. White fences, white mailboxes, white neighbors. I should have known. My house sits at the edge of the cul-de-sac, just past a crooked oak tree the landscapers keep threatening to chop down. It's modest, 3 bedrooms, an unfinished basement, but it's mine. Paid for with long hours, second jobs, and skipped vacations. A place where my daughter can grow up safe. Where I can grow tomatoes in the backyard and sit on the porch without looking over my shoulder. I'm the only black homeowner on this street. Maybe the only one in the entire development. At first, I didn't notice the stares. The lingering looks when I drove my truck down the block. The sudden silence when I walked past a group of neighbors chatting about God knows what. I brushed it off. Figured it was in my head. Figured I was used to it. But sometimes the smile someone gives you has teeth. Like Marcia Klein, HOA president. Blonde bob, pastel cardigans, and a clipboard that never leaves her side. She showed up 2 hours after I moved in. Uninvited, unannounced, and unblinking. Armed with a welcome packet and a list of neighborhood expectations. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "You'll find we take aesthetics very seriously here, Mr. Brooks," she said, scanning my yard like it was a crime scene. "This is a community of order, cleanliness, tradition, right?" Still, I kept to myself. Mowed my lawn twice a week. Painted the fence. Picked up my trash cans within minutes of the garbage truck leaving. And when drought season hit, I installed a rainwater catchment system. Just a couple of barrels connected to the gutter, legal, sustainable, and efficient. Saved me money. Helped the planet. No one said a word. First. Then one morning, I stepped outside and saw the barrels empty. I frowned. It hadn't rained in 2 days, but I'd sealed them tight. No leaks. No overflow. I chalked it up to evaporation. The sun had been brutal lately, but the next week it happened again. Barrels bone dry. Weird. I checked the seals. Inspected the spouts. Everything was intact. I even bought new lids with locks. Still, 2 days later, they were empty again. This time, the lids were off. Set neatly to the side like someone had unscrewed them with care. Something wasn't right. The same day, I caught Marcia walking past my driveway, eyeing my side yard like she was casing the place. She didn't wave, just kept walking, clipboard clutched tight to her chest. A chill crawled up my spine. It's just water, I told myself. No big deal. But deep down, I knew better. In Evergreen Oaks, nothing's ever just anything. The third time it happened, I knew I wasn't imagining things. It rained hard that weekend. Steady, drumming against the rooftop for hours. I went out the next morning expecting both barrels to be full. Instead, I found one tipped slightly, lid resting on the ground, water gone. Not spilled. Taken. That was the moment the feeling shifted from irritation to suspicion. I installed a motion sensor camera on the side of the house. Nothing too fancy. Just enough to catch raccoons or nosy teenagers, whoever was treating my property like a public utility. But for 3 nights, it didn't pick up anything out of the ordinary. Until Tuesday. I got the notification at 2:13 a.m. The footage wasn't crystal clear, but it was clear enough. A slim figure, hooded, creeping along the fence line with a flashlight. They walked with purpose, no hesitation, like they'd done it before. The barrel's lid was lifted carefully. A hose was attached, water siphoned into a portable tank. 30 minutes later, they were gone. I paused the video and squinted at the screen. Something about the posture, the sharp angles of their movements, felt familiar. The next morning, I walked past the HOA clubhouse on my way to the mailbox. That's when I saw it. A new sprinkler system. Shiny. State-of-the-art. Complete with underground drip lines and a smart irrigation timer, mounted proudly on the side of the building. Watering in perfect sync, despite drought restrictions. I narrowed my eyes. We were in a level 2 water conservation order. Even-numbered houses could water Tuesdays and Saturdays, odd numbers Wednesdays and Sundays. Common areas, like the clubhouse, weren't supposed to be watered at all, unless they had an alternate source. Later that week, I brought it up at the HOA meeting. casually. Light tone, smile in place. Hey, Marcia. Noticed the clubhouse lawn's looking extra green lately. Got a secret water genie stashed in there or something? A few chuckles. Marcia didn't laugh. Instead, she adjusted her scarf and smiled tightly. The HOA has its methods, Mr. Brooks. We're committed to maintaining the standards of the community. Her eyes lingered on me a little too long. Like a dare. I caught the hint. Sit down. Stay quiet. But I couldn't. Not this time. Because it wasn't just about water anymore. It was the way she spoke to me at those meetings. Always calling me Mr. Brooks. Never Marcus. The way she'd remind me of the rules no one else followed. The way she'd glance at my daughter like she didn't quite belong on this block. Small things. But they added up. Entitlement wrapped in politeness. Microaggressions masked as professionalism. A slow, suffocating drip of control. Like water stolen drop by drop in the dead of night. And now I had a feeling the theft wasn't random. It was calculated. A quiet reminder. You live here, sure. But this isn't really yours. Not if Marcia had anything to say about it. I don't like confrontation. Never have. I was raised to keep my head down, pick my battles. But when someone comes onto your property at night, siphons your rainwater, and uses it to skirt community laws you're still expected to follow, that's not a battle. That's war. So I take the video footage to the next HOA meeting. It's held in the clubhouse. Irony not lost on me. And the room smells like citrus disinfectant and smugness. Marcia sits at the center of the long oak table, flanked by her hand-picked board. All older, all white, all nodding before she even speaks. I wait until the open floor session. Then I stand. Someone's been trespassing on my property. I say, projecting calm. I have video. Marcia's lips press into a thin line. Mr. Brooks, if this is another comment about your rain barrels. I said I have video. A few murmurs ripple through the room. I pull up the footage on my phone, holding it up for anyone near enough to see. I zoom in on the figure. Same build as Marcia's groundskeeper, Todd. A man who never waves but always stares a beat too long. 2:15 in the morning. That's trespassing and theft. The water being stolen is ending up here on HOA property. I'm asking for accountability. Marcia doesn't even blink. Do you have proof it's Todd? I have enough to report it to the police. But I wanted to give the board a chance to respond first. She leans forward. Rainwater collection violates Evergreen Oaks Community Code, Article 9, Section 4. Home modifications that affect runoff must be approved by the HOA. I stare at her, stunned. Are you serious? You approved my installation 6 months ago. She shrugs, smooth as glass. I don't recall signing off on that. Perhaps there was a miscommunication. Gasped. A few heads turn my way, unsure whether to believe her or me. The trap is closing. Clench my jaw. So you're telling me, instead of notifying me, or issuing a violation like you do for everyone else, someone sneaks onto my property and steals my water. And you're defending that? Marcia's smile doesn't budge. We're not here to argue, Mr. Brooks. We're here to maintain harmony. If you're unable to comply with community standards, you mean your standards. Dead silence. Her voice drops half an octave. Still sweet. Still poisoned. I suggest you think very carefully about your tone. That's when I realize. She's not just covering for someone. She orchestrated it. Because the system isn't designed to help people like me. It's designed to keep us compliant, quiet, grateful for what we're allowed. But I don't back down. I contact a lawyer, dig through emails, find the digital copy of Marcia's original approval for my system. Dated, signed, attached to the HOA portal. I print everything. I compile the footage, label it with timestamps, build a binder of proof. And then I knock on doors. Turns out I'm not the only one with a story. Mrs. Nguyen down the street got a violation for growing lemongrass, non-native vegetation. Meanwhile, the Jones family's English ivy practically strangles their porch. No complaints filed. Old Man Harris had his American flag repositioned, too far from center. While the McAllisters fly 3 flags off one pole with HOA approval. patterns, biases disguised as bylaws. I bring it all to one of the only sympathetic board members. David, a newer guy, young, white, clearly uncomfortable with how Marcia runs the show. I hand him the binder. He flips through it slowly, his brow furrowing deeper by the page. "This is bad," he says. "It's intentional," I correct. He nods. "I'll bring it up at the next board review." But before he can, Marcia makes her move. A letter shows up taped to my front door. "Cease all use of unauthorized water systems or face fines up to $250 per day." Attached is a blurry printout of the same HOA rule she misquoted. No signature, no explanation, just punishment. They're not even pretending anymore. That night, I stare out the window at the clubhouse. The lawn lights glimmer against the freshly watered grass. She wants to drown me in rules, but she forgot I know how to redirect water. Marcia makes her rounds at precisely 9 a.m., clipboard in hand, lips pursed like she just bit into a lemon. She's not alone. 2 board members trail behind her like loyal hounds, jotting down infractions that somehow only apply to specific homeowners. I watch them from my porch, sipping coffee, waiting. They reach my driveway. Marcia's heels click against the pavement like gunshots. She doesn't acknowledge me, just steps onto my property like it's hers. She's dressed for battle. Peach blouse, gold pin, HOA badge gleaming under the sun. "I trust you received our enforcement notice," she says, flipping her clipboard without looking up. "I did. You left it taped to my door like a parking ticket." She glances at me now, just long enough to flash that condescending smile. "Well, we've tried the friendly route, Mr. Brooks, but you've proven resistant to community guidance." "I followed every rule," I say, voice even. "You approved my rainwater system months ago." "I don't recall that." She tuts, scribbles something. "Unfortunately, without formal approval, your system is in violation. I'll be issuing a fine, effective immediately." Daily. One of the board members, a balding man with a Bluetooth in his ear, nods solemnly, like she's a judge handing down divine punishment. "Funny," I say, standing slowly, "because I brought receipts." Marcia's pen stops mid-scratch. I pull a folder from the side table and hand it to her. Inside, a printed PDF of the email she sent last October. Her name, her digital signature, the approval for my system in black and white. Her smile falters. "This could be fabricated. Check the metadata," I reply coolly, "or cross-reference it on the HOA portal. It's still there." She flicks through the pages like she's trying to flip the evidence away. I can see the gears turning behind her eyes, trying to pivot, regain control. "I'm sure this was a clerical oversight," she says. "Regardless, the board has determined your system presents a safety hazard, unauthorized equipment on shared lines." "Except it's not on shared lines," I say. "It's self-contained, and I have proof it's being tampered with. Tonight, by someone on this board." Marcia stiffens. I press play on my phone, video footage I hadn't shown before. This one's clearer. Todd, her groundskeeper, standing by my barrel in the moonlight. He's wearing an HOA maintenance vest. And this time he isn't alone. Marcia steps into the frame, glancing around, whispering to him, then nodding as he siphons water into a rolling tank. The timestamp glows bright at the bottom. 3:07 a.m. 4 days ago. Her face goes pale. That's doctored," she sputters. "You can't prove." "I can, and I have a backup uploaded to a cloud server. Timestamped, geo-verified. I've already sent copies to the city's code enforcement office and the local police." Theft, trespassing, abuse of authority. One of the board members shifts uncomfortably. The other clears his throat. "You think they'll believe you over me?" she says, voice rising. "I run this community." "No, you don't," I say, stepping closer. "You manipulate it. You hide behind rules and paperwork to target people who don't fit your picture-perfect neighborhood." "But the picture's cracked, Marcia. Behind us, neighbors are watching. A few stand on their lawns. Others peek through curtains. Words spreading. Fast. David, the one board member with a conscience, emerges from the clubhouse and walks over, holding a manila envelope. He hands it to her. I pulled the security logs from the clubhouse system, he says quietly. Confirmed the time Marcus reported the theft. You're in the footage, Marcia. No way around it. She snatches the envelope from him like it burns her fingers. You went behind my back? She hisses. I followed the bylaws, he replies calmly. You taught me that, remember? Her expression crumbles. Rage fighting desperation, pride battling panic. For the first time, she looks small, defeated, and suddenly, I see the fear beneath the power, because she never expected anyone like me to fight back. The silence that follows is thick, charged. Marcia's lips part, but no words come out. Not even she knows how to spin this one. Not with a half-dozen neighbors staring. Not with evidence wrapped in time-stamped footage and witness reports. She swallows, stiffly straightens her shoulders, and tries anyway. This is a witch hunt, she says, voice trembling but trying for firm. You're twisting things, Marcus. You've been hostile from the beginning, making up grievances, filming people without their consent. On my property, I interrupt, which I had every right to record, especially after being robbed. I was inspecting. As board president, I have. Not at 3 in the morning, David cuts in sharply. That's not inspection. That's trespassing. Marcia's face flashes red, then white. I step forward, holding my phone aloft as I tap a button. You want more? Here's audio. From the clubhouse. Picked it up through the HOA's own camera mics. A faint click, then static, then her voice. Clear, crisp, whispering to Todd the night of the theft. No one's using it anyway. He's got more than he needs. And if he complains, we'll slap him with a violation. He's been asking for it since the day he moved in. Then Todd again. You sure we won't get caught? And her, cold as ice. Who are they gonna believe? Gasps echo across the street. Phones come out. One woman starts recording me, not Marcia, capturing the moment the HOA queen's crown slips. That's illegal surveillance, she blurts, grasping for anything. You're violating privacy laws. David sighs. Actually, all HOA meetings and common areas are recorded for liability reasons. That includes audio. I just reviewed the policy this morning. She looks around wildly, hoping for someone to save her. No one steps forward. Instead, neighbors start speaking up. I knew my trash bin didn't move itself, Mrs. Nguyen says, glaring. You fined me for it 2 weeks ago. You gave my wife a violation for kids' chalk drawings on the sidewalk, says Mr. Rodriguez. But your grandkids were out there doing the same thing the weekend before. She told me my solar panels were an eyesore and said if I didn't take them down, she'd reconsider my landscaping privileges. What does that even mean? The crowd swells, not just with people but with stories. Marcia's dirty little kingdom, laid bare in broad daylight. Enough, she snaps. Her voice cracks. You're all being manipulated. He's turning you against me with what? Fancy tech? Conspiracies? She turns back to me, eyes blazing. You think this makes you a hero? You're just a bitter man with a chip on his shoulder. It stings, but I don't flinch. Instead, I gesture to the edge of the lawn, where a squad car is now pulling up. Right on time. I'd filed a police report 2 days ago. Sent them everything. The footage, the emails, the dates, the times, the theft. At first, I thought it'd get buried under red tape like most things do. But apparently, one of the officers lives 2 streets over. And he's been waiting for something like this. Officer Lane steps out of the car, tall and calm. Ms. Delacroix, he says, walking up the path. We have some questions for you regarding reports of property damage, trespassing, and theft. Marcia sputters. This is absurd. I'm the president. That doesn't give you the right to violate state laws. Lane cuts her off. You're welcome to cooperate here, or we can continue the conversation downtown. She looks at me again, something trembling behind her eyes. Fear. Real, actual fear. Because the system she weaponized is now turning on her. She tries one last Hail Mary, pivoting to the board. David, say something. You know I've done nothing but serve this community. David doesn't even look at her. Marcia, you've embarrassed us long enough. I'm calling an emergency board vote tonight to remove you as president. She stares at him, then at the neighbors, then at me, and she runs. Not dramatically. Not in some movie-style sprint, but in a quick shuffle, heels clacking, storming past Officer Lane, past the clubhouse she once ruled like a throne, and disappearing into her Mercedes. The door slams, the engine revs, and just like that, the self-proclaimed queen of Evergreen Oaks peels out of the cul-de-sac with her legacy in ruins. There's a beat of stunned silence. Then someone starts clapping, and then another, and another. Soon, the whole street is applauding, not just because she's gone, but because something shifted. The curtain pulled back, the silence broken. David turns to me, grinning. Well, Marcus, you just flushed the whole dam system. I smile just a little. No, I just redirected the flow. 3 weeks later, the clubhouse mailbox is overflowing. Final notices, subpoenas, a certified letter from the city inspector's office. Marcia Delacroix hasn't returned. Her name has been scrubbed from the HOA website. Her glossy portrait, once framed above the meeting room door, is gone. In its place is a blank spot on the wall, as if the community itself wants to forget her reign. But the stain she left? That took time to clean. Officer Lane's investigation picked up steam fast. Once word got out, residents began sharing stories. Unauthorized fines, unfiled citations, missing community funds. Turns out, siphoning Rainwater wasn't the worst of it. She'd been redirecting HOA money to cover personal home repairs, landscaping upgrades, even a private security system, ironically installed to keep people like me in line. The board had no idea, or maybe they didn't want to know. Either way, the fallout was swift. The city filed charges for embezzlement and property theft. The HOA's legal team froze her assets to begin recovering misused funds. News crews came sniffing around next, and the story made the local 6 o'clock broadcast under the headline, HOA president accused of targeting homeowners and stealing rainwater. Poetic justice. I sit on my porch now, same chair, same view, but something feels different. The air's lighter. Rain falls softly today, drumming across the roof and splashing into my restored barrels. I installed a new filter system. Graded. Hidden. They won't get near it again. I hear a knock. It's David holding 2 mugs of coffee. Figured you earned the good stuff, he says with a chuckle, handing one over. From the new neighbors, Ethiopian blend. Thanks, I say, taking it. He sits beside me, silent for a beat. You know, he starts. I used to think people like Marcia were just strict, by the book, keeping the peace. I raise an eyebrow. And now, he exhales. Now I see what she was really doing. Targeting, controlling, silencing, all under the guise of community standards. I didn't stop her. I let it happen. You're stopping it now. He nods slowly. You shook us awake, Marcus, and I'm sorry it took this much to do it. I appreciate the words more than he knows. Later that evening, the neighborhood gathers for a vote. New bylaws are introduced, clearer accountability, term limits, protections for homeowners from abuse of power. There's even talk of creating a diversity council within the HOA to ensure voices that were once ignored are finally heard. When I speak, it's short. I didn't fight because I wanted revenge. I fought because I wanted respect and peace, the kind every homeowner deserves, no matter what they look like. Applause follows. Not polite, not performative. The next morning, a little girl rides past my house on her pink scooter. She waves. Her chalk drawings, bright suns, rainbows, smiling faces, stretch across the sidewalk. No fines, no warnings, just color. And I smile, because peace isn't always quiet. Sometimes, it's knowing the storm has passed, and the water flows where it belongs. Not into the hands of those who hoard power, but back into the roots of something better, something fair, something free.